We've got beautiful planetary things shifting and occurring all over the place. So we'll see. We'll see what gets to channel through today. So I know that there's been a message since yesterday that was on my heart space, so I get to share that today, because I never know what narrative or direction or which way I'm going to be led to go until I get to sit in that energy with and divine through multiple different ways to see if I'm allowed to. So today I got the beautiful urgency to speak to you today. So we're going to allow what needs to be done, what needs to be said, and what come may through the pathways, multiple different timelines, multiple things, multiple ways, activation. There's going to be multiple things that take place because I'm just picking up left and right from things that we're going to digress through today. As I open up the channel and sit in the energy here. So thank you for all of you for being here today. We'll get a few more in the room here and we will step into part of the message that was received yesterday. I sat here and I had to actually text this to Jay the other day because I was like, I don't know if I can read what I've written because it comes out so fast. Sometimes I just can't even keep up with it. That's why I've got my handy dandy recorder, but this time it just captivated very quickly, and that's how that energy moves in. So here we go, we're gonna dive right in. So it takes me back, and this intertwines with the message that came through on Wednesday to an extent. Not all of the same is at play. We were talking about being spirituality. Thank you. Happy Friday to you too. Versus doing spirituality. We were talking about the doing spirituality in the context of reaching and grasping for and knowledge and wisdom and so much that has come at your door is what spirits say. But now without apprehension. Thank you, Rhonda. How are you, boo? Without apprehension, okay, things are moving in transgressions, right? Fluid motion. You might have felt the wheel kind of be like stuck per se, and now you can kind of feel it just going click, click. Okay, for those of you that are in that pathway. That's part of the opening reflective message. We were sitting in that energy, understanding about the Christos, going from doing spirituality to now being it, embodying it, the Christos energy. Now, something that I've been led to talk about here with you today is everybody is talking about the connection of Mary Magdalene and the Divine Sophia, and then picking up this connection and pulling it down and pulling it from outside in. And I am going to be very taboo because nobody will probably speak of the things that I speak of in which the ways that I'm being led to speak of them. So button up your jackets and tidy your pants, okay? Because I'm going to tell you we're about to do a real spiritual dance, all right? The difference that separates you from them is the embodiment of the spirit from within. The Sophia, the Christos, was never outside to in. It was always inside out. The Divine Sophia is not something outside of you. It is within you. It's the Christos within you. It is not outside of you. Quit grasping for something outside of you. You are the return. You don't just carry the bloodline. You're the return. You are it. It is you. It is in you. It is not outside of you. So those of you that say, I've been connecting with the divine Sophia, and you are connecting with your untapped knowledge, your untapped self, and it's trying to connect you from within to without. That is the embodiment of the Christos. That is the doing spirituality to being spirituality, and this backs into the message here in pretenses in which I received yesterday. Stop reaching for something without you. Connect the pathways from the inside outside of you. It is you. The divine Sophia was never outside of you. It is not connecting to you from the outside in. You are the embodiment of, and you are reawakening to the embodiment of what was always and what has been and what will always be. You have to understand that you are a divine reflection of thee. The only way that the essence of the divine can see itself is because you are reflecting it back to itself. It is a cosmic consciousness. It is nothing and everything at the same time. The divine Sophia is within. It has never been outside. You are coming back online. It is the third strand DNA, the reawakening at play. The divine Sophia is you. It's the natural order of creation inside of you. This is why the merging and the emerging of the two sides of you. It's the divine essence inside, no longer hiding behind what you thought was you. The only part was you staying true to you. All in divine order, you'll see what's been inside this entire time. It's the emerging, the becoming of the Christ within. It's emerging from the inside out, no longer outside within. Now, this goes back to the transmissions that I received back in 2024 about inner earth and outer earth. And they really want me to dive into just inner earth and outer earth right now, and then we'll channel even more that's coming through for you guys as I open these things that they've asked me to at least start with and channel through, because you have to remember I get divine order and divine reflection of where I'm supposed to go and how I'm supposed to open these things. So give me 1 second here as I dive back into this. Here we go. It's just the inner earth and outer earth. It's not the whole entire transmissions, okay? So here we go. Because this is very important for you to know with the merging of the two, right? It's never been outside of you. It's always been inside of you, but you could never get to it because of everything that you were paying attention to outside of you and those things that you had to go through in order to understand the divine essence inside of you, okay? Inner Earth, this was written back on June 13th of 2024 for those of you who've never heard this before. Inner Earth and outer earth are about to merge. This will no longer leave your voice unheard. You found peace in the silence, left behind so much violence, only to become vulnerable once more. That left you on your knees in front of my door. Voices churned as your emotions burned, trying to find peace in the silence once more. Tender pieces finally put together in one frame, not from disdain, but because you finally remembered your name, from which you came. The demons in your brain from which you came, you had to learn to refrain until nothing but my voice remained. You had to learn that the spirits of disdain already knew your name as you came to complete your destiny once more. Turning the pages, you learned from the sages how to find peace in the silence. Moving away from the spiritual violence, your life you knew was never going to be a bore. The energies of the enemies knew when you were born. This is the meticulous beginning of our sequel. You had to learn that you were not all created equal. Your frequency and light were that of mine. This I had to teach you in due time. And soon you would learn that everything would turn out fine. Trusting the process puts you humans in such distress. This is not equal. That's why this is the beginning of the second sequel. You are my people. The spaces in the in-between is where you had to sew up the seams so your light could not be seen. Spiritual warfare, people. You have come so far from who you are to what you are. This is the most growth I've seen thus far. You had to come back home to me and no longer flee from what was inside of you and me. I am your equal. I created the heavens and the earth with the help of your birth. Put your differences aside and come alive. Everyone transitions, which is what you call death, but not everybody lives and know what it's like to give. Give to the one who gave to you. I reside in each and every one of you. The merging of the two, the inner you, the outer you call that your higher self, I think, to be true. Inner earth and outer earth, the heavens and the earth will merge once more. This cycle will no longer be born. It was all part of the perfect storm. And the process in which you forget, don't worry, it's nowhere near over yet. There's plenty of time to reflect and process all that you are. And once your knees hit the floor, you'll remember once more. It's true. I created the heavens and the earth with the help of your birth. So when we were talking about the reflective process from the outside in, right? This is why the sun can't shine without you. Thank you so much, Deanna. This is why the sun can't shine without you. You are a divine reflection of the essence of the divine, of God, Father, of Mother Divine. You are a reflection of both sides. Therefore, it has to be, in order for the divine to be able to perceive itself, you are a reflection of the divine. Therefore, then the divine consciousness can perceive itself. And now we have leveled up the frequency, and most of us being in Godhead frequency is allowing the divine to be able to perceive itself on a higher level of consciousness and receive itself, because now you are reflecting to it what it is. And this is why those of you think you are reaching from the crystal with it out within, but you are actually embodying it now through the inside out, because you are reflecting it now. This is part of the quantum shift, or the great solar flash, or the birther of light that many of you are speaking about in hindsight 2020. And it's been a progression ever since. And so then therefore, when things transgress and progress, okay, you are going to be in unlimited untapped consciousness, which is the connection of the cerebellum that we were speaking about, that is inside the mind. It's not just the third eye. That's only part of the transmission. See, now a lot of people, even in spirituality, are having a hard time getting over the word God, Father, or Father Divine, or Mother Divine, because it's a verbiage. It's a frequency that was used against you to literally bring you disdain, so you would not claim the very essence and the very name that you are. Do you understand that? Babble. Frequency turned to words, left your voice unheard. The war has always been in your mind, and the prize was your soul, but not this time. You've learned time after time after time after time how to refrain within your mind from the games of the disdain that play upon your energy and your mind. And now you are all coming back online into the higher state of Christos. It is not outside of you. It has always been within you in present tense. This is why it's nothingness is everythingness. And this is why you had to get to quote unquote nothingness in the zero state. We are coming back to the zero state of creation in January, February without hesitation, when the energy of Saturn, Neptune, and Aries all come together. January, February, it will be at the 0 degree. And you will be at a higher level of consciousness. And this is the split between the three. It's not just the split between the one or the two. It's a split between three. And so this is why you're feeling like you're all over the place, but yet nothing is coinciding at the same time. But yet you feel this collision inside of you, because you know that this is on the pretense of elevating you in multiple ways and multiple timelines. It's not just one split or two. There is a 3 split pattern that is taking place, because once you understand the cosmic energy of frequency, molecules, particles, energy, you are not just coming from this layer of this pancake. You are going to this layer, okay? This layer, and then that layer is splitting sideways based upon your energy level, based upon what you perceive, based upon what you dream, based upon what you put out in that reflection of being the divine. Do you understand that? Because the divine can only perceive itself based upon your energetic level of self, because you are reflecting back to it what it is. So therefore it has to reach to a higher level of consciousness. Now that means you have to reach to a higher level of consciousness every time it reflects you back to it. Now, we are going to have Gaia doing massive shifts, massive moves, massive quakes, massive things are going to take place, because she is going to then reflect the energy inside of you off of the sun as well too. And so things, weather, everything, it's all over the place. So Keep your space in awareness for knowing what you need to do and what takes place, because it is important for the human race to sit with the divine and always divine on what timeline they are in, based upon your level of perception from within. So then therefore you understand that it's not just one thing or two things or three things or four things or five things or 10 things or 15 things taking place simultaneously. It's everything and all things and nothing taking place at the very same time, in order for this to unwind, this place in which no longer can prevail is the most respectable way I can say that. Okay. That is going to be for a very low dimensional space and place, because you have to understand that those things in which I have prophesied over and over and over and over again, there has been many times that Spirit has told me and the divine has told me that you are going to be in a place of seeing everything and not be affected in multiple ways, because you are going to listen to the narrative and the directive. You have to understand that everything is already orchestrated. And so therefore, if you are fearing those things and more, then that's the timeline that you're going to sever and end up in. But see, with divine understanding and divine reverence of the knowledge and the connection from within, you understand that your perception and the energy that you place out there into that frequency is which the one you are going to inhabit in. So there are some that are going to be in that energy. This is why you feel the pull away. But do you think any of you are going to be? Hell no. You're in the same frequency as me, or therefore it wouldn't be. You wouldn't be able to be here in this room right now. So some level, to some degree, you match the frequency and the understanding of what's taking place to be able to have the revealing, okay, the revelation from within. All right, so this is where you begin. And so then therefore, if that's what you believe, because that's what the matrix wants you to believe, because the divine is not fear, the divine is not catastrophe, the divine does not fearmonger anything, okay, because you are in a different higher timeline. These things are going to vibrate, and those timelines are going to be splitting at the same time taking place. So then therefore, nothing that needs to be there will not be there. But you cannot sit here and pump fear like the IV and play into the matrix and pump it even more, because that's exactly the peace that's within your door. And so through divine revelation of understanding your existence and what you speak into authority and how you reflect the energy is what it's going to be. And this is why many may be seeing catastrophe and this happening and all those terrible things happening that are trying to reverberate within the collective. See, there is a big difference between the narrative and then the way that the energy is directed. You have to understand that the narrative may be playing one way, but the way that the energy is being directed is a completely different pathway. And those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear will be open to that pathway and be very clear. There is no catastrophe in which you perceive in the reality of your choosing. So therefore, you choose your own abusing or bruising or abusing that you put yourself into. This is part of the accountability and the spiritual integrity, the spiritual intelligence, and the deliverance that you had to take accountability for, because what was done to you, you had to undo and then redo, right? So you have to understand what they are going to continue to always try to pump and pump and pump and pump again is the very thing that does not exist in the timelines of the divine, in which the frequency in which you actually have and harbor and hold inside. It's just a piece of you in the limiting belief aspect of playing into that anxiety or the fear or the pretentiousness or going for that ride and neglecting something inside, which could be a limiting belief or a disbelief or a fear that, whatever that is. And it's not just the thought, it's the emotion behind it. So don't get me wrong. You are still embodied in a physical moment. But at the same time, you know that now, and you have the awareness in the capacity. So here we go. This is where they want me to speak of. Give me a moment, because I forget which book I wrote it down in this morning. But I went through this whole thing. And I didn't think we were going to go to church until tomorrow. But we're going to church now. All right. Give me a minute. 1 second. No, not that book. Hold on. I know I do this every time. It was just here this morning. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. You cannot resist what you refuse to see. You cannot defeat what you allow to remain hidden. You cannot resist what you refuse to see. You cannot defeat what you allow to remain hidden. Spiritual blindness is a weapon the enemy uses to keep you trapped. You may shout and worship, but fall in weakness when temptation knocks. Think about how the temptation knocks. The temptation knocks with a thought, with a vibration. And without hesitation, you lead into that temptation with an emotional vibration that backs up the thought. Okay? When temptation knocks, they may give generously, but allow bitterness to grow in their hearts. These are the cracks that evil creeps in. Now, remember when we said you had to sew up your seams so your light could not be seen? It's not because the divine didn't want you to shine bright. It's because those are the wounds of the spiritual attacks that happen. That's where they attach to you. So you have to sew up the inside, right? Okay. These are the cracks evil creeps in. Deliverance begins with awareness. Bam. Deliverance begins with awareness. How do you deliver yourself from evil? Well, deliverance grows with surrender, right? Surrender. Stand firm. It's not enough to have the awareness to recognize it. You have to stand firm in it. See, some believers, they see what's wrong, but they shrink back in fear. Ooh, they see what's wrong. They see what's wrong, but then they go back in fear. They know the enemy is working, but they hesitate to take authority. So how do you take divine authority over your mind? You don't play into that thought. You don't play into that time. Okay? Evil is not always bold. The psychic attacks are not always bold. Not everything feels familiar is safe. So things that do feel familiar will come up in your face, but that doesn't mean that it's always safe, right? It can rule over you without permission, but when you ask to reveal what's hidden, that's the first step. Submission, surrendering, right? This is part of the deliverance. The very first part of deliverance is the awareness. We're talking spiritual aspects here, people. It allows to divide everything, because then you hesitate to take authority. It doesn't come always boldly. It can be a feeling within your body that you're holding. Because what's going to happen? First, you're going to have the invasion. The invasion of the thought, the invasion of the feeling, the invasion of the lack, the invasion of the shame, the invasion of the negative thought, the everything. Okay? Now, if you don't stand in your authority, which is the awareness to understand what's going on, that's how you fall into the trap. But it can rule over you until you ask to reveal what's being hidden. That's the first step in the awareness. Thank you. See, sometimes protection looks like no, and sometimes protection looks like no reaction until you hear the word go. So, spiritual maturity understands and knows that protection does not shout authority. It comes from within, the awareness of where to begin, how to begin, but only by you listening to your own sound, your own frequency, your own understanding inside of thee will you be able to understand the discernment and the spiritual intelligence that you've learned that's going on. So this is part of what you guys have had to go through in the spiritual context of the glue, the chakra system, the shadow aspects. You've had to heal and sew up all those wounds in order to know what's playing upon you, what's monitoring upon you, what energies and emotions and cords do you need to cut. And that is a piece of deliverance as well, because once you forgive yourself and forgive thy enemy for not knowing as well, then therefore you deliver yourself from that energy which dissolves the spell in which even both of you cast it upon yourselves. It's the emotion, it's the intention, which is part of the reflection. And so it's not just getting over the energy or the person or the emotion. It's also in a place of knowing spiritually what's going on. Many of you have connected yourself to many energies by speaking vows over yourself and things over yourself without even knowing yourself. And so these are many reasons why sometimes you have as many issues as you do to remove energies from you, is because of emotional pieces that are still connected to those reflections of the divine essence. And so then therefore what needs to happen is you need to surrender the emotion to the entire context with a knowing of what was going on spiritually. When you forgive yourself, most people forgive everybody else, but they don't forgive themselves. But you have to forgive yourself for not knowing. And that's where the shame and the guilt and not knowing where you're going is what Spirit said. That's where the shame and the guilt and all that come up. And that's part of the emotional attachment of where you get stuck. We always want to put blame outside of ourselves. But if we can understand that we refrain from certain types of games, then we don't have to play anymore. Okay? So think about it like that. If you choose not to play that game anymore and take your ball and go home, then obviously there's going to be a new pathway that's shown, a new perseverance. So all of you have been finding your way home. All right. Now, okay. All right, Miss Gaia. I hear you, Miss Gaia. All right. Here we go. So a lot of you are grounding into earth energies, but Gaia is here to speak to a few of you. So she asked me to pull out a card or two, which I don't normally do. Beautiful. Look at this. This is like the Two of Cups. This is the connection within oneself, trust, the unionship within oneself, the masculine, the divine feminine. This is the emotional embodiment, the higher self, the inner self, the outer self, okay? This is the ace here of earth, right? The ace of pentacles, the dirt. Put your hands in the dirt. There's a new frequency in which you are tapping into to be. Gaia's resonance is really trying to speak to you and connect with you in a different way. I don't know what that is specifically for each and every one of you, but Gaia's resonance is trying to work with you, speak with you in a completely different way. So many of you have been... Thank you. Many of you have been paying attention to, different frequencies, whether it be the Schumann or her frequency itself, or connecting. Yes, they have forgotten what connects them all to me and you, my plants, my rivers, my trees. What a sweet treat, but they have forgotten what connects them all to me and you. A plan, something that won't come true. Divine intervention is the key that nobody can see except for those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear to be true. Yes, thank you. And so this is, look, this is the hermit. This is like the bear, okay? So in Gaia's deck, this is the bear. So the bear is about abundance. The bear is about leading the way with divine authority. Bears have a really big heart too. So I don't know why, but they're also showing me the energy of having a very big heart, like the bear claw, right? Okay, so just this energy of kind of like, you know how grizzlies just kind of like stroll the fuck along? You know, they just command authority. All right. This is the type of energy that you're moving with potentially. Now, this is the hermit here in this deck, which is also known as part of the father card, with all due respect. Hey, Soup, how are you? And so this has been a time when you have been in great reflection. So now, of course, after this great reflection, you have learned a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom. There's a higher tapping in, okay? And there's a higher movement coming now from the outside within is what she's giving me. A lot of you may be connecting to Archangel Azrael. And Archangel Azrael is one of the archangels and the keepers of Mother Gaia as well. So they're giving me the energy not of now kind of grounding these visions in, because a lot of you have had visions, a lot of you have had dreams, a lot of you have had spiritual intrusions is what they're telling me, okay? And it comes from the voice within, a feeling, a pretense. Maybe you felt apprehensive about something, but now this is where they're asking you to start and take that action. You need to, it's like the Seven of Cups energy, where it's like there's a lot emotionally going on and I don't know what to pay attention to. Okay, I don't know where to focus and ground into. And so they're really leading you into divine reflection. Thank you, White Bear. Okay, and so they're really leading you into divine reflection. Okay, now a lot of people are meeting this gathering with apprehension, this gathering of unity, this gathering of rainbow prophecy. Okay, and it's because they don't understand the deeper layers of the divine authority. So many of you may be bumping against egos, okay, from spirituality, contexts, and vibrations, okay? And this is one of those hard things because they know not what they do, and this is where you practice grace too. So this is where you are moving into more of divine alignment, of understanding that everybody will reach their own time within, is what's being said. So the natural order and the natural vibration is returning to the planet. I'm sure your embodiment, your soul has kind of called for that and demanded for that between the equinoxes and the solstices and paying homages and respects. Okay. You know, a lot of you are keepers of the lands, right? So a lot of you are keepers of the lands, just like myself. And so they're talking about regenerating the lines, regenerating the ley lines, okay? But you're doing it from what's inside first, okay? So a lot of you feel this bubbling up inside, or this fire energy, okay, inside. And this is like a seed, right? It's seeding. This is the Divine Mother and the Divine Father, Great Spirit, right? Universe, consciousness, everything and nothing at the same time, that is seeding this 1044 divineness inside. And so instead of reaching outside, it's now calling for you to not necessarily come inside and hide, but connect with it on a deeper level. This is part of the Neptune energy because it's very spiritual, okay? The Pluto aspects of retrograde are bringing out a lot of shadowy aspects of spirituality. I'm sure a lot of you feel just as I do. It's very hard to be on the metaverse apps right now. And it's because of, hey Teresa, it's because of the energy. It's because of the energy that's being placed out. So a lot of you always tell me all the time, I don't even get on TikTok unless you're on there. I just can't even stand it. I just can't even stand the energy. that is a part of the energy that's becoming more clear, okay, with you, for you, from you, and pushing you into alignment with the newer you, right? So there's more platforms that you're opening up to. A lot of you are opening up to other ways and other things, because it's like, turn the television off and turn yourself around is what they're saying right now. So you only come into these things or come on these types of social media platforms when you feel that really true essence of divine pull or divine calling, right? It's no more like doom scrolling. So there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom that you've been learning. Now, where they're going back to September or October of last year, they're also going back 6 years and 9 years, okay? So these are big spiritual cycles that are closing out, that are no longer going to recycle. All right. A lot of you have doubt, or when I say doubt, weariness. Okay. I want you to understand and know that you have the divine authority to cast it out. At the same time, a lot of you understand that you have the divine humility, okay, to allow something else to do that for you in that energy. Why waste your energy? Who wants to fight demons nowadays? I sure as hell don't. I deal with enough of them. You know, it's just way easier now, in a different way. Once you understand what you were dealing with, the deliverance and the pathways. All right, but a lot of you are apprehensive, and this is why the spiritual warfare you've had to learn through. Now, this is something that they want me to read. Man, this is old as shit. I just got to share this with my partner yesterday, man. Again, like, this is from 9/1/2021, and they're asking me to read it again because the spiritual warfare is something that you had to learn, right? You had to learn intelligence. You had to learn discernment. You had to understand what these things were, because you had to remember the divine authority that you had. You were fighting, but you were just fighting in the wrong ways. You were fighting from a physical place, not a spiritual place. And now you're fighting from a spiritual place. Does that make sense? Okay. It was called, it's a message for the chosen ones, okay? And it was titled, Who I Am, all right? We were born to fight. It's not that I or you were born strong or brave. The universe decided this one here will have the gut, the fire, and the soul. It'll be destined. You will fall. You will fail. Trial after trial, you will be broken and damaged in countless cases. But you were born to fight. It's not the life that I or you would have chosen. And I would love to be able to lay down my arms. But it's nowhere near time yet. But you were birthed to fight. It's what I know. It's what you know. It's what we do best. Now, when we're talking about fighting, we're talking about fighting from a not backing down, not giving up, because you were blessed. You were blessed with the ability. The divine gives us the authority and the ability to understand from within your sacred divinity. But if you keep reaching outside of yourself for your sacred divinity, you are going to continue to trip over yourself time and time again, because it is coming from a very spiritual place, not only from outside, but from within. When you open yourself up and you do what is needed to be done to open yourself into these energies and understanding the spiritual intelligence, the spiritual discernment, the morals, the integrities, the obedience, the surrender, and the willingness to the divine pathways, universal pathways. I am not talking about the 10 Commandments, because the 10 Commandments in which they told us were the 10 Commandments aren't even real in the first place. You understand and know the deal. There were actually 13 laws of the universe and divine authority, and once you touched the tablets, you just understood and had that knowledge and pretense of all that was, all that is, and all that existed with that verbiage from what was said. Okay? So don't get it twisted. You've already been here. This is you. It's not something of you carrying the bloodline. You are the bloodline. They have been telling me holy revival for a week now. They have been telling you holy revival for a week now. Like literally. And I'm like, the whole entire collective is going through a spiritual holy revival. All that is, all that was, all that has been, and all that ever will be. And this is the divine light of authority that you are carrying to place upon your mantle. You are not fighting from a physical, emotional place anymore. You are fighting from a different space of divine authority, of understanding the divine's grace, the ability. Now, the ability, man, I'll tell you this and I'll tell you twice. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. Because you can sit here and have all the faith that you want to, but if you don't use the God-given abilities that you have to choose the authority to make the movement move, then you will always be stuck within. And those of you that have chosen to do things differently, perceive things differently, move things differently, okay, is reasoning, making my nose itch, I'm sorry, for these divine pathways opening up. All right. And so the Songs of Solomon are actually a poetic dance between the divine union within oneself in a relationship, which is also the figure eight of infinity. Okay. Because it's always the dance of the masculine connecting with the feminine connecting with the masculine, and then the feminine circling back around again. Okay? And so it's the divine authority of the balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine within in unionship. Okay? And it's also speaking in unionship of the Christos. Okay? Because it's not just the divine Sophia. All right? It's the God divine, okay, which is also known in Egyptian language as Pa, P-A, Neter, N-E-T-E-R. And that was Father divine or God divine. Okay, so it already recognized the two pathways in that and way much more. So in order for the divine to perceive itself, to be able to receive itself, you had to work from the inside out to be able to perceive yourself, to be able to receive yourself, to be the reflection of the divine authority, to allow that frequency connect you in seniority. So therefore, when you reflected the vibration of low vibration, that's how the reflection of the divine was reflecting back to you in your timeline. So then therefore the divine perceived itself based upon your vibration that you were placing upon yourself and outside of yourself. So then therefore that reflection was sitting at your door to deal with. This is what people call the trenches, turmoil, the frequency of finances. It's an energy. It's an understanding. All of that in which you reverberated to the divine only could perceive itself by receiving its reflection from you. And because you started to not like to see your own reflection of what was reflecting back to you, you chose to reflect something different inside of you. Then therefore, you started to relieve yourself of the bondage of thyself and learn about yourself and more. Because only by reflecting what you were reflecting inside could the divine reflect back to you to be able to perceive itself. So you got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then you started to rewire. You started to rewire yourself. Different neurons, different pathways, different vibrations, a lot of help from the other side. Many of you complain, why am I so tired? Why do I have no energy? Well, there could be a couple reasons going on. But most of the time, why your spiritual team knocks you out is to actually download, quote unquote, codes, heal, embodiment on an energetic frequency quantum level. And so a lot of you have different spiritual routines of being awake and sleeping at a certain time, and then you'll receive divine guidance, and this is just how it works for you coming back online. All right, there's a lot of receiving, so because there's been a lot of misbelieving. Ooh, damn, don't underestimate the power of prayer, people. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Don't underestimate the power of prayer. All right, now it's your worthiness too. It's how you reflect the intention back to thyself. When you come from a place of pure divine heartedness and essence, it will be reflected back to you and more. Okay? The divine will show up to your door, through your door, in multiple different ways. And so many of you couldn't see the abundancies of the divine that were actually happening for you, so you had to change your perception. My team has always told me that the miracle is the perception change. And in order to gain self-esteem, we have to do esteemable things, but that doesn't mean that it always feels good. All right? Yeah. Some of you perceive the reality as being finite, like final. Like it is, right? Now, there's two ways that they mean this. So finite, meaning it just is. You understand that truth of existence. It's finite, it just is. Because I was speaking about this, thank you, Spirit, the other day. The highest vibration to the divine, of course, is love. Love is the highest frequency to the divine because of the pure authority of that pathway to the divine. Now, we have 72 different human emotions. Yes, we do. 72 different human emotions. Okay? But we only truly feel two things. Good, bad. Feelings. Okay? Alright, so you've had to move away from the good, bad to explore all these emotional pathways to show you that more than half of those pathways only lead you to a lower vibration that is not you. Love is the highest form of vibration to source, to divine, to the Abba, to whatever you want to call it, the one, the infinity, the all, doesn't matter to me. But at the same time, that energy is finite. It's just. The divine is just. It's not love. It's not love. It's all things intertwined at once. So then, therefore, it's just. It is. That's the vibration in which you are reaching from within. Thank you. Love is the feeling of the connection that connects you to the above. That is the emotion and the devotion that connects that pathway from you to it, because it's the highest frequency that we have. Man, y'all need to come and learn. Y'all need to come hang out with me and do some mentally for sure. Here we go. Enlightenment, peace. It's between enlightenment, peace, love. It's between 600 to 1,000 hertz in frequency, right? So that's where it's divine synchronicities and extraordinary outcomes, right? So when you hit love, you get to the place of peace, right? You found that peace in the silence left behind so much spiritual violence, right? To then become to the essence of enlightenment. And now you don't always stay in that vibration of woo-woo and ethers. You got to come back down to the physical pretenses. And I understand that it's really hard right now with Neptune doing what it's doing and everything that's pursuing. But at the same time, just know that this is what you're connecting to on a higher timeline. The finite, the infinite, right? It's just. So then therefore, you're learning how to trust in a different vibration of flow and revelation is what's being said to me. All right. Like, they're showing me some of you just need to put your hand on the doorknob and actually turn the door. So the weariness and the doubt is what you are moving through right now. Thank you. And the weariness and the doubt, when you're about the quantum shift, when you're about the quantum jump, I'm telling you, this is the spiritual warfare that happens right before you're about to make a quantum shift, okay? It all starts in the mind, okay? And right before you're about to make that quantum shift, some of you get bored, right? Okay? Then you're in this place of what we call nothingness. Nothing's moving forward, but nothing's moving backwards. You perceive it as being stuck. You perceive it as nothing's working for you, okay? But it's just because the divine is aligning those string chords to put those things in your pathways because it's gone before you and aligned those things, and now it's bringing this to you. What happens is the mind shift, okay, of what happens in the hallway is spiritual warfare. The attack is going to happen on your mind. Maybe you start to have slow down and have doubt. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Or the energies of the enemies that knew when you were born use a family member to make you start to question yourself in divine authority in what direction you were headed, right? Then maybe jealousy comes over you because you see somebody doing what you want to do. That's a big one. Envy will then come over you because you start to envy things. And that's how it progresses right before you quantum shift into that assignment and into alignment. So when you are getting spiritually attacked, the warfare will always start on your mind. Then the physical body will relate to that, right? So watch your body. This is why you've had to learn your body so much, is because it's a gift. Your body is your sacred temple, and it's not just from a place of energy here, people. Your sacred temple is the embodiment of your awareness level that teaches you what's going on at all times. A headache, eye pain, nose stuff, throat stuff, feet stuff, leg stuff, back stuff. It all relates to some type of spiritual attack. Man, I can't wait to release this workshop for you guys. It's going to be so dope. Now, yeah, so the enemy will hide then within the body, right? So that physical body awareness that you have is telling you something, okay? And we'll start in the mind, and then your body will embody it. That's why you need the energy work. That's why you need the chakra work. That's why you need the auric field cleanses to then Remove that from your energy body. So then you can move back through into the higher timeline. Deja vu. Swear to goodness, I was teaching this fucking a year ago with Tetris blocks. I swear to goodness I was. And so the Tetris blocks stack on. You have a thought of self-doubt. You have a thought of questioning yourself. You have a thought of doing whatever. But then something somewhere casts you down from that frequency because you allow that thought to overrule the divine authority within you. How many of you make sure that your helmet, your sword, your shield, your feet, your breastplate in spiritual warfare are put on every day? Tell me how many of you go to the grocery store and then you come home and you're in a funky ass energy. You go to work and you're in a funky ass energy. You're having thoughts, you're having temptation. Now you're stuck. Now you can't get out of the vibration. Don't think it won't pick up on you, whatever that shift is that's about to take place for you. It's the hallway. People don't like being in the hallway. But that is where the spiritual pathway of the true divine takes place. The obedience, the surrenderance, it's the lion's den, right? It's being in the fish's mouth. So, in order to not subdue to those mind shifts before you quantum shift, love, enlightenment, joy. That's why they're keeping you kind of like in this hermit mode to yourself, okay? Who said that they were a shaman? I don't know what type of shamanism you practice or from what bloodline, but as Native American shamans, we deal with those things very differently. So, I don't know how you embody that sacred coding or how you work with that knowing, but in Native American shamanism is very elemental and very earth vibration and very different level. So, thank you, sir. And so when you are moving through this shift, this is what's happened for you guys like the last week. Now we've got the new moon on the 27th, right? And then we've got the Saturn in Aries with Neptune, okay, on the 25th. Then we have the Cazimi in Gemini. So there are going to be a lot of shifts and a lot of rifts and a lot of wake-ups and a lot of makeups and a lot of breakups. You just never know where it's going to be. And now I figured out where it was because yesterday they want me, now that I figured out where it was, Jay and I laughed at myself yesterday because I couldn't find it, and then I found it, and I started giggling to myself because I knew I had put it in this book, okay? But then, here we go. Here we go. There's two things. In order for people to feel God, they need to perceive in order to receive. In order for people to feel God, they need to perceive in order to receive. In order for people to believe, they have to be able to perceive in order to receive, which is to feel God, the divine, is real. In order to feel God is real, they may have to believe in something that the human mind can't perceive in this dimensional reality to receive. All right? In order to feel God is real, they have to believe in something that the human mind can't perceive in this dimensional reality to receive. All right. This is what they wanted me to read to you guys yesterday, which is all about destiny, which is part of what we were talking about. Out of the ethers and into your life she will arrive, because you have a date with destiny. Her ways are wild and her guidance is true. She may create what looks like chaos or what looks like chaos to you. This might cause distress, but please lay your weary heart to rest. You can trust she knows what's best. Not to cause you havoc or grief, no, to get you to move your feet so you can take your seat. All bets are off. The destiny does not play by the rules like golf. She'll make you realize that not all is lost, and it didn't come with a cost. You need to know you can trust destiny's divine order on your behalf. Whatever goes astray, trust she knows the way. Bigger things are at play. Bodies in alignment, no longer on consignment. It's her hand closing the doors, sometimes slamming them in your face. Nurse your ego if you must, but when that happens, trust. But let your soul shout with glee, because you have a divine date with destiny. Some call it fate, we call it divine order, because this is the calling card from she. So many people's lives are going to be changing in multiple different timelines, in multiple different ways, okay? Multiple different pathways. So it's just based upon 1111. What